Welcome to Bloomerang Academy, and thank you for joining us today. Today we are talking about batch entry with Google Sheets. And joining us today are Jessica Hartnagel and Heidi Atkinson. They are our VP of Product Management and our product analyst. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, ladies.
Thanks so much for having us, Diana.
Hey, everybody.
I know we have a lot to cover today, so Jessica, take it away.
Yes. Okay, so Heidi and I are super excited to be here with all of you today to tell you about why we created Batch Entry Google Sheets add-on for all of you. And then after that, we're going to have Heidi take us through a demo of everything that Batch Entry with Google Sheets can do. And then she has some pro tips and some feedback that we got from our early access users. We ran an early adopter, early access program for this add-on just to make sure that it was meeting the expectations of our users and to get feedback from them, to make some tweaks before we rolled it out to all of you. And then at the end, we're just going to talk through some next steps and some Q&A. One of the things that we want to make sure to touch on as we get into what this can do for all of you is that this is an add-on to your standard Bloomerang package. And so we are going to provide you with information at the end of this meeting about how to get it added on to your Bloomerang subscription. We have our customer accounts team who can help you with that, but we're going to give you all of that information at the end and cover any questions you have about that. So with that, let's talk about why batch entry. So I know a lot of you have used batch entry at one time or another in your nonprofit careers, and that there's a lot of efficiencies that can be gained using a batch entry type tool when entering similar types of gifts. So we're gonna talk through how that's possible with our batch entry Google Sheets add-on. Also, reconciliation can be a really important piece for batching gifts together and making sure that the group of gifts that you are entering lines up with what's going on the finance side and matches different bank deposits or batch total slips that you're receiving in your gift processing departments. We also want to make payroll gift entry easier for you, or any gifts that are entered on a schedule or on a regular basis, maybe weekly, monthly. And that is much easier now with this set of tools. We also wanted to reduce the number of steps to getting gifts into Bloomerang based on having a constituent ID. So if you have a direct mail piece that you sent out and the reply pieces are coming back and the constituent IDs are on them, then you can quickly add gifts using the Google Sheets batch entry tool. And then being able to copy and paste details from another file, maybe an export from another system where you're doing online fundraising or a lockbox, anything like that, where there's a file that you're receiving from a source that's outside of Bloomerang, and being able to copy and paste the details from that file into the Google Sheets batch entry tool, and make sure that you're getting all of those entered quickly into Bloomerang. And there are a couple other things too that Heidi is going to show you about why this tool is so important and different from maybe what you're used to. But I'm going to save those surprises for when she gets into her presentation. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Heidi, and she's going to get into why this is going to be such a valuable time-saving tool for all of you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica. Let me just start by saying I got brought in on the batch program a couple weeks back and have been working really closely with the early access customers. So there's about half dozen of you that have had this, have been using this, and that I've been having weekly talks with. So a lot of what I'm presenting today is going to be based off of what we learned from the past few weeks. So let me get out of here and open up a Google Sheet here. So this batch entry integration is a add-on integration with Google Sheets. Rather than building the whole grid as a page in Bloomerang, we're getting the bonus of all the flexibility of the Google Sheet spreadsheet styling, and I'll kind of point that out here. So I wanted to kind of start and walk through a little bit of a scenario with you guys of I'm sitting here, I've got my stack of, let's say, 5 checks that for today because I have 5 examples that I wanted to show you, so convenient. And I'm getting all set up. So I've created a new sheet. I gave it a name, whatever name I felt like, and I opened up the Bloomerang batch integration on top of my Google Sheet. So this is all this great functionality is going to be over here in this integration side panel. So I'm getting started for the day. I'm going to go ahead and take my blank canvas spreadsheet and turn it into a Bloomerang batch spreadsheet just by clicking this build sheet button. And what this is going to do is grab all of the columns I'm going to need. So if you're used to like typing your data into an import file, for example, you know that you have to kind of figure out your columns, add them all in. This has just gone, looked at my database, and set up all the columns for me automatically, so I don't have to worry about setting it up, and I don't have to worry about the matching. So we'll walk through them here, but it's basically everything I could possibly need to add a gift. Our next step, this is an optional step, but I found a lot of people are really enjoying it in our early access program, is I can say what my expected total is for the gifts I'm about to enter. So like I said, maybe I have 5 gifts sitting here and I was handed them, you know, from the admin team, and they gave me a little sheet and they told me these gifts are going to add up to $1,500. So I'm just going to go ahead and type that in. You can skip this step if you need to, or if you don't want to use this, but it's just a really nice little kind of like quality check, which is one of the big benefits I've been hearing from people of just the kind of continual quality control, seeing how you're doing, double checking that everything's adding up is just really built in and woven into the process here. So I've got that all set up. Let me go ahead and add my first gift. It conveniently enough, I'm just going to click here and I'm going to search for my donor, just like I would do if I were hopped on over into Bloomerang. Conveniently enough, the gift is from me. So I'm going to go ahead and type in my name. I'm clicking tab here. You can click enter, whatever it is. This is essentially beginning the search. It's going to give us this cute little search icon. And over here on the side, we're seeing search results. This is the exact same search algorithm that you're using in Bloomerang. So you can type in the name, you can type in the email, the address, just like you can in Bloomerang. You can type in the constituent ID, which I'll show you in just a minute too. It's super fast. But I've typed in Heidi. I've got several Heidis in my demo database, which makes sense. I put myself in there a lot. I'm going to say it's from this version of me, and I'm going to go ahead and pick that donor. So it's right here in the grid. If you were trying to do this via an import, for example, you know that you're just kind of hoping that that's the right constituent, that you have their ID. Maybe you don't have their ID. Maybe you're hoping the address match will conveniently match to somebody in Bloomerang. It's taking all that guesswork out, and you just know at this point in the process, this person's in the database. This is who we're putting the gift onto. I mentioned like spreadsheet formatting is a nice thing. I'm going to just go ahead and slide that over. And I don't need that to wrap lines. I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of the text wrapping functionality in the spreadsheet just so it's nice and dense. And we're going to start adding the gift date. What you're putting in here is probably going to be your own system of batching. Like, are you putting gifts in once a week? Are you putting in gifts in once a day? I'm just going to do this as though it's a daily batch, so all my gifts are from today. And since all my gifts are from today, I'm actually going to go ahead, drag that down. I know I had 5 gifts. They're all today. I'm going to go ahead and just hide that. We've got some other defaults here too. I know that they're all checks. Going to hide that. I know that none of them have a non-deductible amount. Going to hide that. And I know that none of them need to be marked as acknowledged, so I'm going to go ahead and hide that column too. We'll come back to those. All right, where were we? All right, the gift from Heidi. It's $100. I got my check number right here, maybe my check date. Maybe the check date's in the future because I don't remember what day it is. And I wanted to pause here and point out this payment schedule option. This is a little bit different than what you've been seeing maybe in an import. When you're importing gifts, everything just gets put into Bloomerang as a straight up donation. But if you have somebody who's got a pledge, or maybe they have a recurring gift schedule on their timeline, this tool is going to let us directly say that this gift is connected to that pledge. This gift is connected to that recurring gift schedule. And on my timeline, I don't have an open pledge, so this is going to go in as a donation, but the next donation we're going to put in is going to kind of come back, and we're going to look at that a little bit again. So let me just go ahead and move that over. Fund campaign appeal are pretty self-explanatory. In my database, my default fund is the endowment fund, so that's why the batch tool is filling that in for me automatically, but you can go ahead and change that on any particular gift. I'm going to say that this is from my annual campaign. And I want to point out too, this is a really nice thing if you've been using the import tool. It's grabbing the fund campaign and appeals from your database. So the batch integration built in these little drop-down menus just like that for you. These are all the active appeals in my database right now. So if you've been like trying to like type it in and then getting those little error messages of like, oh, you don't have an unsolicited appeal in your database yet because you had a typo, this is controlling for all of that. I'm going to go ahead and put that in. Maybe put a little note on the gift like, thanks for coming to the gala. I mean, that's probably a note from the donor, but you guys get it. And then I wanted to pause here too and point out, also unlike the import tool, the batch tool can create soft credits. So if you know that this is a soft credit, if you're using soft credits for board giving, if you're using it for workplace giving, if you're getting third-party gifts where it's coming, let's say, from United Way or a family foundation, you can grab this soft credit, go ahead and just add a soft credit right here within the batch menu. I'm just letting mine think for a minute there. I'm going to give a soft credit to Diana. Let me see, it's going to search, going to find Diana in my database. She's of course in there as well. Select them, once again, the same search you're used to in Bloomerang, and she gets soft credit for the whole gift. Maybe she came and solicited for me. Maybe I'm her family foundation, who knows? We're just going to go ahead and save that. You can add as many soft credits as you need to. So that's really great for that like United Way check that has 500 donors on it, and they you have to put in the whole check and then put all those soft credits. You can go ahead and put it in here. Like Jessica mentioned, and like we'll be kind of demonstrating too, you can then just copy this. So next time you get that big old United Way check, you'll just copy that soft credit list and paste it and edit it so that you don't have to type in all 500 of them again. And then these last couple columns I wanted to touch on, these three are all custom fields in my database. So the batch integration is going to go find all your transaction custom fields that are active. It's going to make columns for them. Like I mentioned, my registration type field here is a drop-down menu. It's going to build that drop-down menu for you automatically. And then it's really easy for you to say, hey, I have these fields for my event. I don't really need them right now. I'm going to go ahead and hide them. And I made this custom field for batch ID because I know some of you are using that as a way to kind of organize, not just like this is the batch that came in on November 18th, but it's batch ID, whatever your ID codes are. In my case, in my demo database, I made this just a number field. So I'm going to say it's batch number, big old number, some complicated thing. You don't have to use this though. This is custom field based, and you can use it and you can make it be whatever your team is doing. So if you're already using a custom field for batch ID, it's going to grab that custom field and you'll be able to fill it in right here and then just drag that down to everything else in the batch. So I know that this was my only gift with a soft credit. I'm going to go ahead and hide that column. You'll notice I'm doing a lot of column hiding. This is one of the things that we were hearing from people is really nice here is that you get this really dense view of all the donations. So you can make it show whichever pieces of information you need and make it very scannable. That was my first example. What did I want to touch on? Hiding, payment method, batch ID. Yeah, I did all that. Okay. Second example. We're going to show you not just typing in the person's name to search, but what if you've got, like we said, that remittance envelope, the return response piece, and maybe you printed their ID on there, so it's really easy for you to match back into your system when it gets back. It's really fast to do that. So I'm just going to say that this is another gift from me. I'm going to type in my ID number. Once again, I'm going to click Tab or Enter. and give it a second to think, and it just filled it in. So if you're putting in the ID number, it just fills it in. I didn't have to go and pick myself out of the side panel. So it's really fast if you've got that. We're going to say, I don't know, maybe this is a $300 gift. Put in a check number. Maybe you don't have a check date. That's an optional field anyway. Checks always have a date. I'm going to go ahead and leave those other fields blank, grab that batch ID, and come back. So I just wanted to put that one in as an example of how quickly the search is going to work when you've got that ID, because it's just instantaneous. You don't have to do any additional clicking. All right. Now I want to get into a really fun gift, one that the import tool itself, so like if you're working with a spreadsheet already, can't handle very well. So I've got a donor in my system, or my stack of checks today. Her name's Patty. We're going to go look up Patty. It's just going to think here a moment, and you'll see it's working on it. There she is. There's my Patty. All right, we're going to grab Patty. She's got a pledge, and I'm doing my data entry, and I don't necessarily know that yet. So I'm sitting here, I'm typing in, okay, it's a $417 check. That's really interesting. Check number, check date. And then you see here, this payment schedule automatically filled in new donation on Heidi's record because Heidi didn't have a pledge. And here on Patty, it's kind of leaving it open. You got to make a decision here. You click on it and you see, oh, well, maybe this is a one-off gift, but hey, Patty has a pledge. She's making $417 installment payments on her crazy pledge balance. This is obviously her pledge payment. You go ahead and pick that. And now when this goes into Bloomerang, it's going to go in as a pledge payment. As you know, pledge payments are going to copy the information for fund campaign and appeal from their parent pledge. So it's going to fill all of those three in automatically. In Patty's case, she doesn't have a campaign and appeal on that. It's just the program. And her note said, this is my November pledge payment. So that all adds up. That makes a lot of sense. So this is really great. This is something that kind of is all streamlined. And what we were seeing from people is sometimes you're getting that kind of like a monthly file or a quarterly file or something with here's all of the pledge payments from our employee giving program. So what we were seeing people doing is maybe adding in like this one payment from the person, and then in your same file or in your same batch of payments, you had multiple gifts from that person that were all pretty much the same, just different dates. And it was really easy for everybody to just grab that row. I'm going to go ahead and copy the entire row, go down here and paste it, just paste it as values. And voila, now I've got both my pledge payments from Patty. Probably need to change the date on that one. So this is another thing we saw people doing quite a bit of kind of just hiding columns until you needed them. And that one was actually maybe her October payment. I can't type. There's 19 months in a year, right? At least this year it feels like it. All right, so that was her October payment. We're going to go ahead and maybe the note on that one was October pledge payment. Once again, I'm putting it in the same batch ID. It's got all the same fund campaign appeal information. And I'm just going to go ahead and make that a little bit denser. So I'm going to do the overflow wrap setting here in Google Sheets. Beautiful, nice and dense. All right. And I wanted to kind of pause at this point too and say, like, if you're working with a big pile of checks, especially as a lot of us are going to be doing, well, a lot of you, I wish I was getting a big pile of checks. A lot of you will be doing in the next couple of months. You're probably going to have moments where you get interrupted partway through, you have to pause, you have to keep going. And what you can do, what I'm going to kind of show you here is that you can go ahead and upload the batch, upload the ones you entered so far. This is going to push those 4 gifts into Bloomerang. They're all in Bloomerang now. They're all entered. And then I'm going to come back from my lunch break and I'm going to keep going. I know that I've still got my expected batch total of 1,500 and I'm not there yet. So I'm going to go check and say like, hey, I need to add my one last gift. Okay, apparently I've got a $266 gift still to enter today. And I can come back and keep working on it. So let me see, what's my last gift? It's going to be from, let's see, I've got Freya's check here. We're going to go find Freya in our search. There she is. And we saw that that's probably a $266 check, so it's all going to add up. Give it a check number. And then Freya as well has a payment schedule drop-down menu option here. So Patty had an open pledge. Freya has an open recurring gift schedule, so she signed up for a monthly giving program. I've seen a couple of you have like, you're using a different system like ActiBlue or something for monthly donors. Maybe you're getting a file of your monthly donors and it's the same file every month. You can just grab those, put them in here, and they'll go into Bloomerang as recurring gift payments. So you don't have that whole import scenario if they're all sitting around as one-off donations and you have to go and manually connect them to a recurring gift afterwards. In this case, her $266 check is clearly not one of her recurring donation payments, which is $20 a month. So I'm just going to put that in as an extra donation. Yay! That's going to also, I'm going to change that to our unrestricted fund. I should probably just make that be my default. And I'm going to go ahead and say it's also for the annual campaign and unsolicited. So I'm copying those, pasting them here. And that's obviously also part of our batch. So I'm going to come back here. I finished my batch, check my sheet totals. Yes, perfect. What I'm putting into Bloomerang is matching what my accountants had. 4 of these gifts are in Bloomerang already. So I just need to finish it. I'm going to click upload payments again, and the magic here is it's going to look at those first 4 and it's going to say, hey, we already put those in Bloomerang. We're not going to double it up. We're just going to take that last one, put it in Bloomerang. Let me go quick and show you guys what we're seeing in Bloomerang now. So I'm going to go to Patty's record. Got my Bloomerang over here. Here's Patty. Let me refresh that. I opened this before I pushed my batch. And it's going to look really normal. These are pledge payments. They're on her timeline. It looks just like if you guys were putting it in by hand or via the import, same information, but with one extra thing. Down here at the bottom, so those are all my custom fields that we skipped over, it's going to have your username. You're the one who put the gift in, but it's also going to say Google Sheets at the beginning. So you're going to have that audit trail information of which gifts came in by hand or something else versus which gifts got pushed in via this batch entry integration. And that lets us then do some really fun stuff with audit trail and quality control where you can go and create a report. I've created one right here. And my filters are just gifts that have Google Sheets in the created by name and were created today. So it'll be really easy for you to go backtrack and say, oh, these are the soft credits. These are the pledge payments. These are the donations from Heidi that I put in via the batch tool. So even if you're not using a batch custom field, we built in extra ways for you to kind of come back and see what was created via that tool. One of the things I know with import tools people have really wanted this for is maybe you made a mistake and you put in a bunch of gifts and they all were missing an appeal code and you have to go in and put the appeal code on all of them. So something like this might be helpful to go do that, you would think. But you actually don't have to. The batch entry tool, and this is the most exciting feature for me, even though it's like to fix things, has a mass update functionality. So I put all 5 of these gifts into Bloomerang, right? There's this magic little reverse payment upload. So it's like an undo and import kind of a button. I'm going to click delete payments. It's going to leave all 5 of these rows here with all the information, but it's going to wipe them out of Bloomerang over here. So let's go ahead and do that. This will reverse all the payments created in Bloomerang that are linked to this page. Okay, that sounds scary, but I'm going to do it. 5 payment rows successfully deleted. So like I said, they're all still here. Your data's still here in the spreadsheet, but I'm going to go back to Bloomerang, refresh, they're gone. I undid my import without using the import tool. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to go fix that thing that I wanted. Oops, I needed them to all have the appeal as unsolicited. And they weren't actually for my annual campaign, they were for my Giving Tuesday campaign. These 2 are pledge payments. I'm going to actually undo that for those 2. But let's say all your gifts, they were actually for my Giving Tuesday campaign and I forgot to fill that in. And we're going to just go and upload them again. So basically it let us undo them, wipe them out of Bloomerang, fix whatever we wanted in the file. You could add rows, delete rows, change the data in the rows, push it into Bloomerang again. I'm going to scroll back over here. See, they're all uploaded now. hop back into Bloomerang, refresh my report again, voila, they're back. So
people are loving this, by the way.
it's my favorite feature. It's super exciting, and nobody's used it yet because nobody's made any mistakes, because it's really easy to see in the spreadsheet, like, oh, like I forgot to fill an appeal on all of my donations or something. So I haven't met people who've used it yet, but I just want to use it. So I want to put some mistakes into my data. That's one of my favorite things. It's just like, really, it's protecting you. It's so easy to use. And essentially it's doing a little bit of magic of, like, when we push the gifts over, you see that these became links. It links to the gift in Bloomerang. So the spreadsheet then has this link of, like, this row and that gift go together. So you could close the spreadsheet. You could go away for a vacation like I'm about to do, come back after Thanksgiving. I say, oh my gosh, well, I must have been really tired. I forgot to add appeal on all my gifts. And you can still use the reverse fix re-upload at that time. So this is a really, really nice feature.
Erin, thanks for mentioning that. Yes, this undo option does give you guys a little bit more confidence in being able to let others help you with gift entry, right? Because if they make a mistake, you'll be able to come in and, like Heidi's been saying, easily scan and see exactly what was entered. And if they got the date wrong or the appeal wrong or anything wrong, you can just undo it and quickly make that change and submit the updated payments. So. Mm-hmm. Thanks for mentioning that.
And I wanted to point out too, like, this is great for when a lot of stuff needs to get fixed. Obviously, if it's still one gift, nothing's locked down in Bloomerang yet. I could have still gone in and just changed one gift at a time. This is really nice for when it's more than one gift at a time that needs to get fixed. And like you kind of have seen too, I've been doing a lot of copy paste, or like I can take notes and just drag them. So anything that you're kind of like, they're all the same. They all have the same batch ID. It's really easy to get that kind of default-ish behavior, even though it's over here outside of Bloomerang.
And Lori mentions another great point. You could have multiple staff members working in their own Google Sheets, entering different types of gifts, right? So there may be one person who's managing all the gifts that just came in from an online campaign that you ran for Giving Tuesday, or another staff member who's helping enter all of the United Way gifts. And you guys can be entering them all independently into your own Google Sheets if you would like.
Yeah, exactly. This is kind of connected through my username. So if you all have different Bloomerang users, like, each of you can have access separately as well. Or you can just kind of like, you connect and then give it out to an admin's person, and they'll just look at this sheet and not actually hop over into Bloomerang directly, because you've connected to this spreadsheet. So it kind of provides this sense of control over who's seeing what. I have a variety of other small little features to point out that we haven't looked at. For example, Patty here, I don't have any address on file, but she sent me a check. As you guys probably know, a lot of times checks have addresses on them. So I'm sitting here, I say, aha, like, I do have her address. I should add that to her record. So in the middle of entering my batch, over here on the sideboard, there's kind of this, like, the overall batch profile. There's that search screen we saw, but there's this view tab I haven't shown you guys yet. So I can click on Patty. I see this nice little summary of her constituent record. And there's this, like, almost invisible little button down here, view or edit in Bloomerang. So while you're doing the batch, you can just come over here, say, like, oh, I want to add an address to her record. And it's going to teleport you straight over to her page in Bloomerang. So if you needed to, like, add an address, like I was saying, or update her name because maybe you now know her nickname or her middle name or something, it's a quick way for you to get over there from in the batch, so you don't have to open a tab, search for Patty again, and then open her record. You can just get there directly from here. And similarly, I had a couple people say that they wish it could do this, and guess what? It can. If you look up somebody and they're not in Bloomerang yet, so I've got Freya in here. I'm going to search for Freya though and say, like, hey, that's that's not Freya Frazier. This is Freya Smith. I need to add this new person to my database. When you're here on the search step, there's add constituent. So this works like the search in Bloomerang. And this doesn't even teleport you over into Bloomerang. It's just all built in here. So you're still on the same screen. You say like, this is a new individual. You fill in their name, just like you would in Bloomerang. Any contact information you have about them, any custom field information you want to track about them. And you can create the person right here without even leaving the screen. So then you create them and voila, you're back in the batch. We've created a new person and we're ready to start typing in the date and amount of their donation. So it's really cohesive of just like one workflow. We know you're trying to get through this stack of checks. You're trying to get it all added, and everything else is just like a little bit of a loop that always comes back to this. Let me go ahead then and open. I did have some tips I wanted to share with you guys that we were learning from people in the early access. One of them I've been kind of showing you in a somewhat disjointed way of like, it's built in Google Sheets. So you've got all their spreadsheet customizability. It's auto-saving as you type in. It's all saved. You can download it to an Excel spreadsheet if you want to like pass it around on your team. If you're already using Google Sheets, you can just share access with people. You can hide and show the columns. You can change the formatting. You can change the column width. One person told me, I wasn't able to achieve this today, but they told me they were able to like hide so many different columns that they weren't using or that they had defaulted that at the end, everything fit onto one screen. They didn't even have to scroll right and left anymore. So that was something we were hearing from people that is really a way to kind of like play around with it and really make it work well for you. Another tip we heard was really around the kind of payroll deductions. I'd been thinking of this stack of checks scenario, and one of the people we were working with said what she was actually dealing with is she gets a file every month of here's all the employee payroll gifts. So, there were like 4 gifts from this one person, like 1 a week, and she had to add all of these, and they're like the same, and she wants to track them as a pledge payment. So all these things that like the import tool can't track it as pledge, but they're all pretty much the same gift. So what we kind of worked out there, that's where I learned about the copying a row and just taking the entire thing and saying like, hey, we can just add the gift once, copy it 4 times, change the date. There you go, 4 pledge payments.
Heidi, do you mind showing them how easy it is to just copy a tab?
Yeah, let me go ahead and try this. So let's say then like that was this month's payroll, right? What I'm excited to see is what's going to happen next month, because let's say that I've added all my payroll gifts here into today's batch. Maybe you kind of rule of thumb of what are you going to do is like make a new sheet for each batch or make a new tab for each batch. Either one works. I'm just going to add a new tab right here just to show you guys. So I'm going to call this like next month's gifts. I'm going to once again make this be a Bloomerang sheet. I'm going to get all of my column headers magically added in. And then let me go ahead and grab last month's gifts. I'm going to copy those and I'm going to paste as values and change the date to what's next month. It's going to be 12. So let's just say I get this file on 12/15, change the date, and there. I've added all of this month's gifts. So for those really consistent, like it's similar, oh, maybe we have a new employee, I'm just going to add their gifts. Maybe Patty is no longer making the payroll deductions. I'm going to just delete those rows. But you get to essentially kind of that easily start with all those gifts, especially for people who have, more than 2 donations. This is really nice. Quantity-wise, we were hearing from some people have used this for over 600 gifts already. Some people were only using it for about a dozen a week, but still like finding that little efficiency, the quality control was totally worth it. So most people were saying kind of like, if I just have 1 check, yeah, I'll hop into Bloomerang. Anything beyond that, they were actually excited to come over here, which was fun for me to hear about. So that's the payroll deduction scenario that we saw some people doing. And the person who I was working with most closely with on payroll deductions told me like that drop down approach to making a pledge payment just felt so easy compared to like kind of going onto their record, looking up the next person, saying it's a pledge over and over again. So she found that that drop down of saying like, yep, this is a new donation or this is a pledge payment was a nice touch. Pro tip 3, we didn't have this come up from the couple of people I was working with in the early access, but we kind of figured it would work based on that payroll deduction chat of the soft credit scenario. So this is what I was saying of like, you get that United Way check, it's got a whole bunch of soft credits associated with it. And then you can just copy paste that for next month, for the next time you get that check. So I copy pasted the entire row here. You could definitely do that. But you can also just kind of copy paste that soft credit list of these are the people who get a soft credit on this donation. So similar scenario, let's say like you've got 15 gifts. They're all you want to have soft credit to your board member. You can just soft credit the first one and then just copy that board member's soft credit down onto all the next gifts. This quote I really liked. I've been demoing this to some people very differently than what I just did for you guys. And one person mentioned at the end like, hey, this does a lot more than I thought it would when you said Google Sheets. Yeah, it's not like the import tool where you're doing a lot of that work on your own. It's doing a lot of the data prep, the data quality control for you in a way that isn't always self-evident based on the name. And then this one was really interesting for me to hear, but I think it'll probably make sense to a lot of you. Once you've entered all your gifts, a lot of times the process is to pull a file back out of Bloomerang, to pull a report, maybe just to see that batch total, maybe it was to pass on to another team member. And what I heard from several people was that what they can do here, since it is a Google Sheet, is you can share access to that Google Sheet if your team's all using Google, but you can also just use Google's built-in functionality of like, maybe you want to download it to Excel and give an Excel spreadsheet to a team member. So that's all right in here without you having to go into Bloomerang to pull that report. So if you've already got a scheduled report set in Bloomerang, I'd say just you're good, stick with that. But if you're not using that and you want to be passing this along more as a manual process, this makes it really easy. It just kind of like links the two steps of putting into Bloomerang and getting a spreadsheet right together. And then, yeah, those are my 4 pro tips. Are there any other questions before I go back to the slides and wrap up for today?
So a lot of the questions that are coming in, Heidi, are around being able to copy and paste values from another file. So whether do all of like the column headers have to be the same from the other files, things like that. So I'm not sure if you want to touch on that now or whether you want us to follow up with them.
Yeah, I can touch on that. I want to put in a caveat of I haven't like watched anybody's screen while they were doing this, but I have seen some people who were kind of dealing with the scenario of like, I have a spreadsheet, it came out of XYZ software, and I'm either going to like type it in manually, or I'm going to have to like go and clean up this spreadsheet so it works with the import tool, or I'd like to copy paste it into this batch spreadsheet. So they were kind of vetting out like which of these is the easiest. So let me just go ahead and just remove those columns and kind of walk through what that might look like for you. So the constituent column here is probably the trickiest part of all that because this is doing that search and it's searching one person at a time. So let's say you've got a file and you're still going to kind of want that quality control element that the import tool doesn't give you of like, I want to know if this is a new Heidi Atkinson or if it's a pre-existing Heidi Atkinson. So maybe, you know, you've got like 15 people in the file. You're just going to go, well, I know the first one's Heidi, the next one's Mark, the next one's Jessica. Just kind of get them all in there in order. And then you can go, it's going to start searching for the Heidis. I'm just going to go grab, yep, it's that one. Now it's searching for the Mark. You see how it kind of like skipped straight down and began searching for the next person. So it's kind of going to help you with finding all of them. It wasn't Mark, it was Mary. We're just going to go ahead and choose Mary. I know I've got Jessica in my database. It's going to go search for her now. So you're getting kind of that control of like, who is this going on to? Is it somebody who existed? Which one is it? Am I creating new person? So it's not doing the kind of like address contact information matching that you might have had to deal with the import tool. It's letting you get this more controlled. And then I think what people were doing is after they've added kind of like, all of them here, then they would just open up that spreadsheet where they grabbed all those names and copy paste that information. So maybe they had a column with the dates. Maybe they had a column with I'm going to pretend this is an amount. Maybe they had those columns and then paste all of those into the proper place. Typically, I think what we were hearing about with files like that is it's pretty simple data, like here's who, the date, the amount, and then oftentimes I was seeing people would have like a custom field saying like this came from, I'm just going to stick it here in my ticket quant or in my notes field actually. Maybe this came from, let's say, QGIve or something. That's a bad example. They have an integration with us, but whatever you're kind of tracking with like, yep, I've got like who it is, the date, the dollar amount, and then my personal notes about what campaign do I want that on. Well, those are all my annual campaign. These are all from my online appeal. These are all from the QGIve. So maybe that's a custom field. Maybe that's a note for you. So that's what I think the flow has been for people who are working from a file. Once again, I didn't actually see their screens while they were setting this up, so they might have found a little bit of an easier way to do it, and you might find an easier way to do it too.
Thanks, Heidi. People are also asking about whether or not they can use this to mass upload interactions, and this tool specifically is for mass entry of transactions. So it is something that we are looking into as far as expanding, this for possibly being able to do bulk entry of interactions and other types of timeline entries. But as of today, it's solely for transactions. All right. Diana, are you seeing any other questions come in that we need to talk through?
I think we're looking good for now. I'm happy to see all the questions and all the comments coming in, though. So thank you for that, everyone.
All right. Let's see. Heidi, was there anything else that you wanted to show everyone today, or are you thinking we're...
Like I said, there's just so many like little like, oh yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it kind of moments with this. I didn't even show you guys the validation step now that I think of it. Right here in between like checking that your dollar amounts are correct and pushing it, you can do a validate step. So let's say, for example, that I forgot to fill in the amount field on all of my gifts. And I try to push that into Bloomerang. You'll get these really nice error messages only for the rows that have an error saying like, this is what's wrong. You need to fill in an amount. You need to fill in a payment method. Go do that. Try again. So that's been really nice. Once again, I've been hearing from people that the grid view makes it really easy to make sure everything's filled in. So that hasn't been something I think is coming up every day for people, but it's been a really nice little thing of just like, oh yeah, maybe the gifts that were right, they're in Bloomerang, fix this one, go back. So the import tool kind of works like that. It'll give you the little like, hey, none of your rows got imported. Click here to find out why. This just removes a lot of the clicking. It removes a lot of the steps. It tells you exactly what was wrong with that row. You go in, you fix it, you fill in a payment method. And it's doing that validation when you do the upload as well. So like there's the validate button so you can kind of do it while you work, but even if you just skip straight to upload it, it's going to work the exact same way. Hey, great, you fixed that one. We pushed it into Bloomerang. These two are still wrong. You still need to go fix them. So that was a nice little thing that I totally forgot to demo up until now.
Thanks so much, Heidi. Yeah, that's one of my favorite features too. All right, so if you think of anything else you want to show us, Heidi, please go ahead and jump back in, let us know. Otherwise, let's talk about some next steps and some logistics around being able to access this tool. So this tool can be added to your Bloomerang subscription by contacting our customer accounts team. It's something that we have to turn on so that you can access it. And there is an additional cost associated with it. I think right now we have it at 15% of your subscription fee, and it will be again billed at your subscription or renewal period. And to install the Google Sheets add-on, we have a video for that. We have a great video and documentation for it. It takes about 2 minutes to add it once you have gained access through the customer accounts team. So we'll make sure once you decide if this is a tool that you think will be useful for your organization, to get that over to you. If you need help getting connected, we can do that as well. And then after that, you get to start creating your batches. So really simple. You can get up and running with it within a couple of minutes. And we are definitely looking forward to hearing what you think, receiving feedback, and continuing to evolve it as we have more people using it. So I think those are the main things we wanted to cover for today. Heidi or Diana, do you have anything else at the moment?
We do have a poll that I'd like to launch. So if you're interested in having a member of our customer accounts team reach out to get your Bloomerang database connected with Google Sheets, let us know in the poll. Or if you still need to think about it, you can always reach back out to us later as well.
So yeah, I see some more questions coming in about pricing. It is currently priced at 15% of your subscription cost. And as far as how that would be applied and when you would pay for it, I'm going to leave those questions to the customer accounts team because I don't want to misspeak. I know that once it's added to your account, you can keep it as part of your subscription on the renewal, but I'll let them handle any of the specific questions around how that gets added and when you would need to pay for it.
Sorry, just quickly scrolling through, making sure we didn't miss any questions.
Yeah. Someone's asking about Zapier. There isn't a cost for Zapier outside of whatever you're paying Zapier. So there are free, I think, account options with Zapier. And there are, I think, paid versions of Zapier depending on how complicated and how many steps your Zaps have. So yeah, this is separate from that, though. Different add-on, different cost, but that's related to the Zapier cost.
And we had a question here on accounts and who can access the Google Sheets. Can we recap that, Heidi?
Everybody I've been working with is an admin user in their database, so they have access already to log in and add GIFs. I don't think there's very many people in this tier, but I know we have a user permission setting for like, I'm a standard user and I can edit GIFs. I believe that those types of users can also use the Google Sheets integration. I just haven't met any of them yet. So
right, and that is how it works. If you are connecting your Google Sheet to Bloomerang, you're going to be using your Bloomerang credentials to do that, and you have to either have the admin access or I'm a standard user with access to edit transactions. So that's how that would work. Now, if you're at an organization that uses the Google platform and you have Google Drive, and you go into Drive and create a sheet in a folder that other people have access to. So I go and create a shared folder that Heidi and Diana have access to. If they open up that sheet, they don't necessarily need Bloomerang credentials to add, donations and things to that sheet because I already connected to that account. So depending on your organization and who has access to the Google Sheets file, different people may be able to access that file and enter donations without having to have a Bloomerang login. So I know that was a common question that came up as well.
Yeah. Once again, not a scenario that we've met people who are doing yet because they, didn't have that option before, but definitely something you can do with the way this is set up.
In-kind donations, yes. So actually, when we were testing Google Sheets batch entry. We had an in-kind option. We're still working through a few of the bugs that we ran into with some of the in-kind specific fields, but that is something that we initially thought of as an option for this type of gift entry, and we'll be looking to add that as we have more users using it and needing it. So
Wonderful. Thank you so much again, Jessica and Heidi, for showing all this wonderful stuff to us today. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today and for all of your wonderful questions.
yeah, let us know if you guys have any questions, or if you have feedback. We would love to hear from you. If you decide to use it, if you don't decide to use it, we're always seeking feedback on what you think, how it's going for you. So don't be shy. Let us know what your thoughts are, please.
In the meantime, have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.